There are places in this world that are not meant to be found. Deep within the ancient humid jungles of Southeast Asia, there is a path that local villagers refuse to name. They call it the Path of the Silent. They say if you walk it long enough, the trees begin to whisper back your own name, mimicking your voice with a chilling accuracy. I never believed in those old wives' tales. I was a skeptic, a seeker of truth, until the night I stumbled upon the House of the Grey Lady. The journey began under a blood-red moon. As I pushed deeper into the foliage, the natural sounds of the jungle, the insects, the distant monkeys, suddenly vanished. The silence was heavy, suffocating. Then the air turned cold, a freezing, unnatural chill that bit through my skin like 1,000 needles. My flashlight flickered, its beam struggling against a mist that seemed to have a life of its own. That's when I saw it, a massive, decaying colonial mansion swallowed by the suffocating grip of ancient vines and moss. I stood before the entrance for what felt like hours. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to turn back, but curiosity is a dangerous master. I pushed the heavy oak door. It opened with a long, agonizing creak that echoed through the hollow halls, as if the house itself was groaning in pain. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of jasmine incense and rotting wood. I shined my light around the foyer. Dust motes danced in the air like tiny ghosts, and there, on a grand mahogany table, sat a single porcelain cup, with steam still rising from the tea, swirling in the cold air. Someone, or something, had been sitting there just seconds before my arrival. I called out, but only the echo of my own trembling voice returned. I began to hear it then, a soft, rhythmic thumping from the floor above. It sounded like footsteps, yet too light, too deliberate. I climbed the grand staircase, each wooden step screaming under my weight. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I reached the master bedroom at the end of the dark hallway. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and saw her. She was sitting in the corner, a girl in a tattered, stained white dress, her back turned toward me. She was humming a melody, a tune I recognized from my own childhood, yet it sounded distorted, wrong. "Hello?" I whispered. My voice was barely a breath. She stopped humming. The silence that followed was terrifying. She began to turn. Slowly, her bones cracking with every movement. When she finally faced me, my blood froze. There was no face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Hands reached out, clawing at my clothes, pulling me toward the darkness. 1,000 voices began to laugh simultaneously, a chaotic symphony that vibrated inside my skull. "You chose to enter," a cold, wet voice hissed directly into my ear, smelling of damp earth. "Now you choose to stay forever." Panic took over. I fought, I kicked, I screamed until my throat was raw. I don't remember how I broke free, but I ran. I ran through the shifting hallways that seemed to stretch into infinity. I didn't look back, even as the house itself began to groan and shrink, the walls closing in like a giant mouth. I woke up at the edge of the forest just as the first light of dawn began to bleed over the horizon. My clothes were shredded, my skin covered in scratches I couldn't explain. I wanted to believe it was all a fever dream, a trick of the jungle mist. But as I sat there shivering, I reached into my pocket and felt something cold. I pulled it out. It was a rusted, antique key, still stained with a dark, wet substance. They say the House of the Grey Lady never stays in one place. It moves through the shadows, searching for its next guest. So, a word of advice. If you ever find yourself in those deep woods, and the trees begin to whisper your name, Do not stop. Do not look back. Just run.